In this video I want to talk about everything going wrong with classical music and why I, as an insider, do believe that the industry is going to die or at least change drastically in the next 10 to 15 years. I've included timestamps, so feel free to skip around. Right off the bat, I want to say that these are all speculations. Nobody knows what's going to happen. Even Warren Buffett doesn't know if the stock is going up or down. You have to think for yourself. If what I say seems wrong to you, then call me out. But you have to be open-minded. This is not a simple 1 + 1 = 2 equation. Societies are way more complex than that. Most of the time, when people say that the classical music audience gets older and older, you just put it right in the back of your head. When people say that less and less people go to concerts, you just throw the information away and you don't think about it. You don't think about what will happen. You don't think that this is actually the reality and not just some weird possible fantasy, and that this is going to happen. I talked about this topic a lot with my best friend, and the first time we talked about it, I didn't realize what it meant. I was like, yeah, this could happen. But then 2 days later I lied in bed and it suddenly struck me, and I realized that we're screwed if we don't change things up. The first reason why I think classical music as we know it is going to die is the metaphorical Pandora's box. As you might notice, classical music is not as popular as it could be. I mentioned already, less and less people are going to concerts and the audience gets way older. And COVID-19 certainly contributed to that. But it's much more than people not showing up to concerts. It's also our reaction of us musicians that is just completely wrong. The one question no one wants to ask: why does classical music get so much subsidy from the country if no one goes to concerts? I'm dead serious about this. Why did no one open Pandora's box yet? I don't know. Maybe the people who are in charge think of classical music as culturally important. What it is. In 2020, 82% of the classical music audience was older than 50 years old. Wait 10 years and there will be a hell of a lot less people in concerts. They will be too old, they won't have enough money because their pension doesn't allow it, or they will have died already. You could say that as people get older, they're more interested in classical music, but this is wrong to some degree. Musical preferences are mostly formed when you're young, says Stéphane Dorin. There are no life or age cycles, they are cohort cycles, which means that they are based on the generation you're born with, not the age. At the moment, the orchestra landscape here in Germany is pretty stable. We haven't lost a lot of orchestras in the last 10 years, but what if someone gets to be in charge who's a bit younger, who's under 50 and doesn't value classical music as much as the ones before? I guess we will find out. And this is not just some technical thought of me, this is a real possibility. Let's say 30 to 50% of the orchestras are going to vanish in the next 10 to 15 years. These are just speculations, but who predicts the opposite? Here in Germany we have about 10,000 professional orchestra musicians with a normal contract. This means potentially 5,000 people could lose their jobs. Soloists and other musicians not included. During COVID-19, a lot of us struggling with money did get out of the music industry, not just the classical music industry, but all of them, and they never came back to music. COVID-19 showed us the harsh reality musicians have to face when there are certain crises. But it's no wonder. If there's no money, why would you support something most people are also not interested in? It just doesn't make sense. I just wonder how long it will take till someone asks this question and tear off our complete industry. I wouldn't do a YouTube channel about classical music if I wouldn't believe in the positive effects of it. I have so much passion for it, so much love, and I truly believe that it can have a positive impact on everyone themselves and on complete societies. Music, like all other kinds of arts, was there to be socially critical. It did want to say something. And it must have had a huge impact on people back in the days. I will explain later why it's not the case anymore. If you found this first part interesting, why don't you hit like and subscribe to the channel so that you can support classical music? I'm serious, you should go subscribe now. Thanks, let's move on. Another huge problem is that we don't have a composer representative for our music. always, when we talk about music that lived through generations, we talk about music that was representative for a specific subculture. The music was composed by people for people. Concerts back in the days have been much more noisy. People talked, they danced, they have eaten to music. The music was just part of a bigger picture, a community who they could identify with. So we know now, music was composed with the intent, with the wish to be heard. And people wanted to go to concerts to listen to music they could identify with. Not just, wow, that sounds beautiful. Political opinions and personal beliefs were expressed through music, and if we look at our times, most composers do not care at all what the audience wants. They compose for themselves and for people who are at the top of the decision-making process for concerts and competitions. This means that the complete relationship of what the audience wants and the subsequent development of music through time is non-existent. Let me repeat this sentence because I think it's very important. The complete relationship of what the audience wants and the subsequent development of music through time is non-existent. The composers do not do what the audience wants at all, and they still wonder why no one shows up to their concerts. Imagine an enterprise not doing market research or thinking about their customers. That's just incredibly stupid. But if composers do it, the audience is the problem. We have to start to think like an enterprise. We have to start to care what our audience wants and work with the feedback from those people who we want to get paid and who we should want to form a community with. If we just play music that was composed 200 years ago, this music is just a representation of the opinions, the worldview and the beliefs of this specific time. And we can't understand these beliefs to 100% because we live in an entirely different world nowadays. That's why we need classical composers again, people can identify with. Even if that means that we have to go back and write tonal music again, or doing things that the classical music industry sees as sacrilegious, that's the only way we're going to survive. The next big reason is that most orchestra musicians think that if they get into an orchestra, they're set for life. Normally, if you pass the first year, you will have a lifetime contract in most professional orchestras. But no one tells you you're not a public servant. You can still lose your job even if you're not sued for a crime. It's like orchestra musicians are the people in 2007 who said that the housing market is rock solid. Obviously, it's not, and they're still doing nothing against it. We are not here to do music and get people to listen to us. We want a job and we want security. And there's nothing wrong with a bit of security, but if we get to a point where we literally don't care if people listen to us or go to our concerts, then we might as well not exist. Being heard by others and our society should be our main marketplace, our main source of income. But at the moment, it's financial subsidy. We're just weight to the economy and the country. I can give you an example. Here where I live, there's a great orchestra, but most concerts are not even sold half. And our country has to pay 10 million euros per year for it. The ones who need most help, people without money or education, they are also the people who are least interested in classical music. Go tell those people that the country is pouring millions in orchestras people don't even listen to, but they have to suffer existential dread. Another big failure of classical music are marketing mistakes. Quote, "The best minds of my generation are thinking about how to make people click ads." I'm not sure whose quote it is, but I think it was from Simon Sinek, and I do believe it's 100% true. Look at marketing campaigns of classical music. There are none. We are the worst promoting ourselves appropriate to our times. I literally don't see any ads for classical music or products, neither do I see any sort of advertising or communication in public. Yeah, there are a few posters here and there for orchestra concerts, but that's nothing. Our music university has exactly one person who manages all social media accounts, and you can believe that it doesn't work out. The best thing is that sometimes you still can't buy tickets online. That's a joke. Social media, porn, video games, those high stimuli make us want more and more content. Especially short form, because we're dopamine addicted. If you're watching this on YouTube, you probably have seen at least one video about dopamine detox and still did not change anything in your life. You still did not have understood the gravity problems coming with all those things. I'm not saying that you should quit all high stimuli, but I'm saying that you should be aware of how you conduct yourself. Especially alcohol, drugs, cigarettes and porn are basically poison. I'm going to make a video how dopamine detox can help us practice more efficiently and what neuroplasticity has to do with it in the future. So if you haven't subscribed, this would be a good time. Back to the topic. Those high stimuli make the entry much more difficult for classical music because people don't want to listen to a 10-minute piece. After 1, 2, 3 minutes they get bored and they want something else. Going to a 5-hour opera is even too much for me, and the upcoming metaverse and the trend for short form content on TikTok and YouTube is suddenly not gonna help us. The next big problem is technology. With it you can hear the best musicians in the world right here, right now. Why would you go to see B-class pianists with a B orchestra? Yeah, live performance is probably way better, but it's just so much easier to stay at home and watch a recording. This is a classical example for Pareto distribution. For those of you who do not know what it is, here's a quick explanation. 20% of the effort will bring you 80% of the results. Vice versa, 80% of the effort will bring you just 20% of the results. If you work smart, you can make Pareto work for you. Money is also distributed like this. 20% of the people earn 80% of the money. What does this has to do with classical music? I guess that 20% of the orchestras will have 80% of the views and 80% of the orchestras will just have 20% of the audience. And technology just makes this so much more easy to happen. The orchestras with a great reputation and in big cities like Berlin Phil or the Met, they're going to survive. But the small theaters in the country, they're going to suffer really bad. Another fascinating thing about Pareto's distribution is that 20% of the works composed by Bach are played 80% of the time. Pareto can be a cruel thing, but it occurs in nature as well, so we can't change it. Why does Pareto work, like for the rich people? I think it's because if you got your foot in the door and you overcome this big first barrier, huge success occurs exponentially because you can delegate work and hire other people. So what's my advice for you musicians out there? Have a plan B. I know there are a lot of great musicians that say you should only focus on music and it should be the only thing you can and want to, but I think that's just stupid. Like John Peterson said, if you do not have an escape route, you can't bargain, and if you can't bargain, you're a slave when you're looking for a job. And that's absolutely true in my opinion. And there's another quote from John Peterson I want to mention because I think it fits perfectly in this context of the video here. If the structure you're in is going in that direction, in this context the classical music industry vanishing by a large number, and you can't stop it, get the hell out of there and find something else. I'm not sure if this was 100% the context John Peterson was using it, but as I heard the sentence, our industry directly came to my mind and it resonated with me and my fear what's going to happen in the future. If you want to have something to loathe after these horrifying thoughts, you may want to check out my comedy playlist right here. Thanks for watching and see you in the next one.